All right, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, you're back with your host, Massimo Cardo. I'm Mixing with Mas. Here I have my boy,
Fabian.
Vilela.
Vilela. Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Doing good today. Thanks for having me here today.
Yeah, man. So one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on is that I feel like you challenge yourself further than most people. And
Yeah.
That's physically, mentally, and recently you took me to rock climbing, LIC, the boulders, right?
Yep.
No, the cliffs.
The cliffs, yes.
The cliffs, yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of realized as soon as I walked into that atmosphere that it's a lot different than a gym, you know? When you go to
100%,
when you go into a weight room or a powerlifting gym, you look at size, right?
Yeah.
You can immediately read your sphere
Yep.
and tell what's going on, like who's who has experience, who knows what. And the first thing that I realized when I stepped into that atmosphere is that like you have no clue what someone can bring to the table,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
it's challenging because like you can't judge. You really can't. It's
Yeah.
like the wall determines a lot, you know?
What's good about climbing is you can't tell who's fit or not. You have to
Mhm.
wait until they do it. So it's
Mhm.
like action. You
Yeah.
have to wait until they actually do it, you know?
And one of the best parts is that like you have to assess it. So you could do shitty reps when you're working out, right? You could
Yeah.
cheat your way through a workout. But when you're walking up that wall, when you're working your way through, it's
Mhm.
either you give out so fast because like you take the wrong steps, or you work your way up slowly and you got to be patient. You got to analyze. And I mean like these skills really they involve a lot more other aspects of life, you know?
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. No, climbing is definitely a different element than just the regular gym, you know, and like you said, the atmosphere. That's why I'm in a climbing gym rather
Mhm.
than a regular gym.
Yeah.
Because the atmosphere there is everyone's trying to help each other.
Mhm.
But in a gym, there's a lot of alpha males trying to be who's the bigger alpha. You know,
Mhm.
everyone's like
Who looks better?
who looked better. You know, they're
Yeah.
walking around tough and all that. And
Yeah.
the atmosphere is just who's trying to be better. But in a
Mhm.
rock climbing gym, is everyone's trying to push each other
That's
up.
true.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot harder to find a sense of camaraderie in a gym
Yeah.
because most times you're right. It's a lot about ego lifting and looking good. And
Yeah.
part of it is the aesthetic. There's a lot to respect about that, earning the aesthetic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The nice pose, the good tricep. You want to hit every delt, you know?
Yep.
But also like working as a team. You don't find that in bodybuilding because it's usually a one-man sport.
Mm.
But if you look at like Alex Honnold,
Yeah.
the guy who climbed El Cap, right?
Yeah.
He did a free solo, but he said it was a purely team activity,
Yeah.
you know?
Of course. Yeah.
Even though he climbed the wall, he did it all himself, but it was really a team thing,
yeah.
you know?
They put the apples. I think I told you. They
Mhm.
put the apples each 1,000 feet or something for him. You know?
Yeah, so they had like a little basket as he would climb,
Yeah. He would
Mhm.
have just a little basket with his goodies in there.
and apples were his choice of treat, right?
Yeah, he's a vegan, so he
Mm.
likes apples and like vegetables and all that stuff.
Got
yeah.
it. So what got you into climbing?
When I was a kid, I've always liked just anything upper body. Like I always liked doing pull-ups when I was a
Mhm.
kid. And prior to me getting into fitness, that was around, I would say, 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, I was really fat, actually. I was probably the same weight that I am now. So I'm right now 155. And when I was in 7th grade, I was 155.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's a little backstory I'm going to tell you, a really interesting backstory. The reason why I got fit is because in 7th grade, I almost got jumped by like 20 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was in Atlantic Avenue, and I had a watch on. It was like a Garmin or whatever. And it was a couple dudes like, "Oh, nice watch, you know, what time is it?" The same thing they always say.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know what you're planning. And then I just walk away, and then I look back and I see 20 people just chasing after me.
Mhm.
I'm like, "Yo, let me book it." And it was two streets away from where I used to live. So I ran through Atlantic, and I remembered my friend had a pit bull in the backyard. So I'm like, all right, let me just jump his fence and just stay in the backyard. And
Quick thinking. That's
yeah.
smart.
And that was all in my head really fast. And, you know, they didn't catch me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, wow, I'm chubby, and I outran like 20 people. Like
So you made it. You hopped the fence?
Yeah, hopped the fence. They
Nice.
didn't touch me at all. I outran them.
Got it.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? From now on, I'm going to try to get fit. So if that encounter ever happens again, like, I know it's 20 people, but
Yeah.
if it's like a one-on-one thing, I want to
You want the odds on your side.
I want the odds on my
Yeah.
side and stand my ground.
Mhm.
So that definitely helped me get fit. And another thing also that was a wake-up call was when I went to Germany. I was getting really fat as well, but I didn't know it. But once I was in the airplane, I was sitting next to a girl around my age, because when you're a self flyer, when
Mhm.
you're young, you usually get sit next to people who also are like young as well.
Really?
So, yeah, so you get like a tag.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you get a tag with like you can choose to do it. You
Are
can,
they also solo flying, or is it just they're with their family?
solo flying, yeah. So
Okay.
you can either do solo flying without any help or solo flying with like the help. So that's when you would get the tag.
Gotcha.
So I was sitting next to a
So
girl.
you're meeting your family there.
I was meeting my family at home. So I was at Germany flying by myself
Okay.
to home. So in the airplane, I was sitting next to this girl. I think she was very beautiful.
Mhm.
And we were like talking and all that stuff. And I got her number. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm a pretty handsome guy. So once I left the airplane, said bye to her, I, walk out
Mhm.
and go to the parking lot. And I look down, and my shirt wasn't even covering my stomach. It was like, that's how fat I was. It's like I had a crop top or
I
something.
can't imagine this. I've only seen you fit.
Yeah. So that day, that was a true wake up call. Like me almost getting jumped and seeing like a crop top on me. That was like, all right, we definitely got to get fit.
Mhm.
So the first thing I did was running. So I
Mhm.
did like running almost every single day in Forest Park. So I would just keep doing the laps there, just keep doing
Gotcha.
it. And I lost probably like 20 pounds or
Nice.
in like a couple months or less.
I love hearing your transformation story, man.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then I got into track in 9th grade. That's
cool.
Yeah. CTEA.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, 9th grade, I was in John Adams first. And then I realized John Adams sucked. So I
Mhm.
switched to CTEA.
Gotcha.
And I was in track and field from 10th grade to 12th grade to
Mhm.
the end. But yeah, when I got into climbing, really was probably after I finished high school.
Mhm.
So around freshman year of college. But it's really hard to get into climbing because it's expensive.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the funds to go to a climbing gym or anything like that.
Yeah.
So only it happened around there because that's when I started doing lifeguarding.
Mhm.
So I had
Yeah.
enough money to do climbing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have done it when I was younger.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's the main reason. But when I was in high school, I was doing a lot of pull-ups and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Even though pull-ups is not necessarily gonna contribute a lot to running, but I just liked doing
Mhm.
stuff that's me pulling
Yeah.
my body up and all that.
Speaking of, remember the summer? I should give some background. I
Yeah.
met Fabian as a lifeguard working at McCarran Pool. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we were both employed by the New York City Parks Department.
Yep.
Honestly, the greatest gig I've ever had.
Yeah, it's
We sat
very
there all
easy.
day. The
Yeah.
one thing is, it was like we weren't very stimulated in the mind when you're sitting down all day. But
You're doing
at lunch,
nothing.
at lunch,
Yeah.
that was when we turned it up. And I mean, you really kicked up the intensity. And it wasn't even just the climbing aspect that I learned recently, because that's been like your newer thing.
Yeah.
But I remember at the time you were telling me that you have you done a triathlon?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've done several marathons, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's-
Half marathon.
Half marathon,
Yeah,
got you. That to me is incredible alone. I mean, like the feat it takes to even work or imagine something like an Ironman in
Yeah.
the future. And I know you're working towards it.
Next year, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, yeah.
Dope. Yo, I'd love to have you before, after,
Yeah.
maybe even during.
During, yeah.
Hook you up with a mic, be like, Fabian, how you feeling, man? What are you doing?
Like shit.
Pull me up, Mas, get the helicopter.
Right, yeah. You
Yeah.
gotta come up with the motorcycle near me. Like,
Mhm.
how you doing,
Yeah, but watching you work and just working alongside you, working out,
Yeah.
was the best part. Like we were doing pull-ups, you got me into pull-ups.
Yep.
Correct form.
Yep.
It's better to have correct form than to get the numbers. And
Yeah, of course.
I say it to myself, but I don't always do it.
it's
and it
it's so
truly
hard.
matters. Yeah.
It's really, really hard.
Mhm.
Even I have that problem now. Like me, I'm trying to do, my goal is to do a pull up with 3 plates. This is a 345s. So the most I've,
135 pounds.
yeah. So
Wow.
I'm not there yet, nowhere near. But the most I've done was 2 plates. So 90 pounds on me. That was I would say last year. Like that's when I was getting into that. So now I'm trying to get back into that. And at the moment I'm with 45 pounds. But yeah, like during
Mhm.
those last sets, I would just not finish the whole rep. I would go like halfway or
Mhm.
something like that. So
Yeah.
I would always like either just not finish that rep and just continue, or I'll be like, all right, you know what, I have to do that rep again just to complete it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that happens to everyone.
Sometimes it's good to take a little bit of rest in between your set. So let's say like people have this idea when you aim for 12 or when you aim for 10
Yeah.
that it's like I have to hit 12 no matter what. So I'm going to sacrifice the first. I'll do the first 4 good, and from 4 to 8 I'm going to half-ass it just so I could hit 12,
Yeah.
For me, I'd rather do the first 8 as best I can, and if I could hit failure, You wait, give it a couple seconds. And Rich Piano is really big on this. You might know who he is. He used to put synthol on his arms. Giant bodybuilder.
Which
Ripped.
one?
Giant guy. Rich Piano.
Oh man,
Passed away a couple years ago. He was a goat.
Yeah.
So basically, he was really big on anabolic steroids. But the part that I liked about him, he was kind of like a godfather
Okay.
with the steroid world. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's done every cycle there is. Testosterone was his second nature, you know?
Yeah.
And he gave a lot of information, no bullshitting.
Yeah.
Didn't cut anything. And he would just tell you. He was like, this is how it is, and this is what I suggest. And
Yeah.
he gave a really good outlook. And also his mindset
Yeah.
was strict. If he was like, he would say, yo, I'm going to gain 50 pounds in this next month.
Yeah.
And him and his boys, the 5% crew, would gain 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Obviously, not all of it's going to be muscle. But
Yeah.
when you're on a cycle, something similar might happen. You know,
Yeah.
you're definitely going to increase your muscle mass along with your body weight and your cholesterol, and your likeliness of a heart attack
Yeah.
spikes through the roof, which is unfortunately how he died or similar.
Mm.
But he was really big on completing your sets. And if you're going to work out or you're going to do something,
Mm-hmm.
you complete it and you go straight through the wall. Like, you don't stop, you know?
Yeah.
And his idea was like, maybe I can't hit that 12th rep. Well, I'm going to rest and I'm going to earn that 12th rep
Yeah.
instead of having a shitty rep and walking away with my little trophy instead of like being proud, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
No, that makes sense. Like our bodies, we don't know what reps are.
Mhm.
All our bodies know
It's in the
is
head, man.
all our bodies know is time under tension. You know.
Yeah.
So if you rush those 12 reps, it doesn't matter. It's
Mhm.
like the whole. You can do 5 reps, but take super long, and your body will still
Like the
get
negative,
the same effect. You know.
yeah, like the negative
Yeah.
eccentric movements.
Yeah. So
those are tough, man.
yeah,
Like drop sets, shit like that.
of course. But yeah, your body doesn't know what reps are. All they know is you time under tension.
Mhm.
So that's why people would choose 10 to 12 reps, because that's a good amount of tension your muscles are going to be in to stimulate and build muscle. That's
Mhm.
why there's that rep, but it's not something that you need to reach all the time and fast, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I hear people talking about like endurance athletes.
Yes.
It's kind of like they say like they have this little bag of treats like in their head or something like that. Like metaphorically, it's like, what do you reach into, or what place does your mind roam or explore
Yeah.
when you're doing an 100-mile bike ride? Because I know you do that during quarantine. This guy is the only person that I knew who had a Peloton in his room,
Yeah.
challenging German athletes. Like, you have this monitor where you race people across the world, right?
Yeah.
Live sometimes.
Yeah. It could
That's
be like-
dope.
Yeah.
I mean, during quarantine, you don't want to know what I was doing, and half of it consisted of just food
Yeah.
and video games, you know. And I
I
commend.
mean, I got lucky because I kind of told my mom, it's like, you got to get fit, you know? So she bought the Peloton, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use this. And it was during the peak of COVID. So
Mhm.
this was during April, and this was when my uncle got diagnosed with COVID. And I'm like, all right. So that gave me motivation to do the 100 miles indoors
Mhm.
on the Peloton. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Like, I have so much like built up tension in my head. I'm gonna just bang out the 100 miles.
Was it fear?
Not fear. It's just like contributing, like some weird ways. Like, you know what? I'm contributing my effort in some way
'Cause you're thinking
to
about
him. Yeah, I'm thinking about
I've
him.
done
So
that.
I'm gonna like contribute my time doing the 100 miles, and hopefully it goes to
Mhm.
him. You know.
Have you ever like dedicated a certain amount of reps to someone? Like, yo, I'm gonna hit 21.
Yeah,
because
of course.
my mom's birthday is 26. I'm gonna hit
Yeah.
26. You know.
What people do is like, let's say your goal is 10 reps.
Mhm.
You go for 12. 11's for God, and 12 is for Bruce Lee. You know, like you know, people do that.
I
all the
remember
time.
that. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I haven't heard that in a while.
yeah. I would do that sometimes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I usually use that.
yeah. For abs, I would do that. It's like for Bruce Lee, I do one more. Yeah, but yeah, that 100 miles, like that was 100% mental, because you're indoors,
Mhm.
you're not moving.
You're not. There's no one to compare yourself with right next to you.
There's
right?
no one to compare yourself with. There's no
Yeah.
breeze you would get when you're outdoors. No change of scenery. That's the main thing.
Mhm.
And I had headphones for, I would say, like a good 2 hours,
Mhm.
and the headphones died. So I was just
I feel like that's more of a blessing than a curse.
without headphones,
Yeah.
or
I think that hardened you, did it?
yeah, it hardened me. Yeah, I had to dig a little deeper, you know, mentally. Like physically, I was going at a pace that I can go all day, but
Mhm.
mentally, it's like, man, I'm gonna be stuck here another 3 hours, you know, doing this biking. And around mile 70, that's when my body, like, I didn't eat any nutrition. So like, when you're doing 100 miles or longer, you have to know when to eat some food or electrolytes or whatever to keep enough energy in your body. and I didn't do that. So around mile 70, my whole body kind of like shut down. Like mentally, I was still there, but my body, my
Cramping?
legs, no cramping. Just there was no more power left. I'm trying
Gotcha.
to go through the pedals, but it didn't work. So I told my mom, I was like, "Mom, just make me a peanut butter sandwich." You know?
While you're riding,
Yeah, like make me
you
a
just
peanut.
pulled out the phone.
No, like she was right there. Like she was like, "Here's the room."
I'm thinking you're outside. I'm
No,
sorry. I
indoors.
forgot again. You're indoors. Yes.
I'm
yes,
indoors, and she's like sitting in the couch right there.
Mhm.
So I'm like, "Mom, just make me a peanut butter sandwich."
That's so convenient, right?
Yeah, and she's like, "Okay." So took a bite of that, and just a couple bites, just like 3 bites from one half of a peanut butter sandwich, and
Mhm.
that helped. That helped me got to 100 miles.
Wow.
So I did the 100 miles around 5 hours and 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Do you know the percentile finished in?
What do you mean?
Did they give you a placement of like the average time?
Well, no one's done that in Peloton, so I had to like do that. Like there's do your own time thing
Mhm.
on Peloton, so it's not part of a class or anything like
Gotcha.
that. So it's just you just see your metrics and that's it.
Gotcha.
But
Do you know your wattage?
yeah, average was 160 or 70.
And what's
Like,
professional? Around like 180, 200?
well, I know for triathlon, professional triathlon is like 230.
Damn.
Yeah, 230.
How do you maintain if you're going all out, let's say, so triathlon, you start off with the run, right?
Swim.
Swim.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the bike.
The bike, yep. And
And you
then
finish
the
with the
run.
run.
Yep.
How do you prepare yourself to just exert and then exert? And starting off with the swim, I mean, the swim is the most exhausting part.
Yeah, yeah.
And you start with that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
You don't want to finish with the most exhausting thing.
Yeah. I don't know. The beauty of it is it's all different muscle groups you're working. So
That's
when
true.
you do the swim, yeah, you feel tired, but when you get on the bike, you haven't really used your legs too much and you're in a completely different position. So
Yeah.
you can still, like, you'll feel cardio wise, like cardiovascular wise, you'll
Mhm.
feel tired, but fatigue in the muscles wise, not too much
Mhm.
if you pace yourself good. The only thing that's going to hurt a lot is the run because you're using your quads for biking a lot. So the run
They
is-
just start pinching. I've had that feeling before.
the run, the first mile for most people in the triathlon is super slow and like it hurts the most because
Mhm.
you're in that position depending which triathlon you're doing for how long. And once you get off that bike, your legs will feel like bricks.
So how long are the metrics for each? So it's for
It
the swim?
depends. It depends on the triathlon.
What was yours?
So the first triathlon I did was an Olympic style triathlon. So an Olympic style triathlon is a 1,500 meter swim, 26 miles of biking, and a 10K run. 10K is 6 miles. 6 miles.
Okay.
So there's different styles of triathlon. There's like smaller triathlons, but they don't have a classification.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did one in Staten Island. That one was very small. That was 400 meter swim, 12 miles of biking, and a 5K run.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that one like most people can do.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say that sounds possible for me, but it just might take me a little while.
Yeah, no, you can do it.
So how long is an Ironman compared to that? An Ironman,
Yeah.
I don't think people give it credit because, like, you see, I haven't done the Spartan race myself,
Yeah.
but I've seen it.
Yeah.
And certain challenges don't look as intimidating,
Yeah.
and I feel like it might give the name, it might discredit it in some
Mm-hmm.
capacity, you know.
Yeah.
But then when I hear about the Ironman and I'm looking at David Goggins
Yeah.
and he's training with no music and he's talking about adding a marathon onto a marathon.
Yeah.
Like,
So
how does
did he
it
do an Ironman or no?
Yeah, he's done plenty. David Goggins, yeah, he does
Yeah.
them for fun. Mm-hmm.
So I'll like break it through. Like the first is half Ironman. Like
Mhm.
that's the step up. So from Olympic style, then you have half Ironman. Sorry.
Mhm.
Half Ironman is 1.2 miles of swimming. Then for the bike is 56 miles of biking. And then for the run is a half marathon. So 13.1 miles of running as a half Ironman. Then a full Ironman is just everything double. So 2.4 miles of swimming, 112 miles of biking,
Oh my
and a
God.
full marathon, 26.2 miles of running.
Dude, people train for years to hit the marathon
Yeah.
alone. Yo, I don't think
Ironman, I think, is the ultimate like test for
Yeah.
the human, like
the human body.
human body. I
It's
think.
crazy how much we limit our brains and our bodies to, because like
Yeah.
we are capable of so much.
Yeah.
Like I've learned through working out, but not even that. Just like people who have walked the path before me.
Yeah.
Overtraining is not a thing.
Yeah.
It's under nutrition
Mm-hmm.
and under sleeping, under rest. You know, it's you have to repair your body, but
Yeah.
it is capable of so much. Like watching or even just hearing about stuff like this, like these feats are incredible. Like someone climbing El Cap, which I mentioned before. It's basically like a slab, right? It's a boulder.
Yeah, it's a bunch of different things. It's like a slab, a boulder, a crack. It's like a combination.
So yeah, he walks up the wall. He'll be like inside sometimes. Sometimes he'll be like almost horizontal,
Yeah.
upside down.
Yeah.
Walking up on the crevices using your fingers. I mean, like there's so many
Yeah.
intricate details, and somehow we figured out how to do everything. And
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And he wrote it all down in a book to know exactly the perfect sequence to what to do. Yeah, for that.
So what keeps you going? Because I feel like for myself, once I hit a certain goal, it's definitely easy to plateau or like
Yeah.
to become complacent. What keeps you going?
One thing is, well, yeah, if you don't have a goal, then it's almost impossible to keep going. So it's always good to like think of a new goal to do.
Do you have short-term goals?
Yeah. So that's what I kind of did. Like I have a short-term goal. I'm trying to do less than an hour 20 for a half marathon. So I did an hour 27 for the half marathon last year in Brooklyn. So I'm like, okay, I want to try to do it less than an hour 20. So that's my next goal. So I have these little goals. But in high school, when I was in track, I definitely, like, I'm going to use the word overtrain, mainly because I trained too much that mentally I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I think that's a thing. Like, you need to keep your mentality in check, and you don't want to train too much that you don't love what you're doing anymore. And that's what was happening. So I had some goals in high school. It's like, all right, I want to get less than 245 for the 1,000 meter, less than 210 for the 800 meter, less than 19 for the 5K. And I kind of like hit those marks. One of them I wanted to do better, but I couldn't get to where I wanted. But regardless, I hit most of the marks. And what I did was I went to the gym 6 a.m. I did track like after school, and then I went swimming like at 9 p.m. just because I'm like, you know what? I want to be the best in New York City. And,
There you go.
And like for me, that was the mindset. It's like, all right, I'm going to train swimming at 9 p.m. because it's cardio. And I know that my competition is not going to be doing that probably. So I'm always thinking, all right, I'm going to work out when they're not working out, you know? So I'm like, I have the
that's
advantage,
a good feeling.
you know?
That's a great feeling.
Yeah, and I'm always thinking that. It's like, oh, yeah, you know what? Like, while they're resting, I'm like taking advantage of it, and I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
But the problem was that it reduced my longevity of liking running, you know?
Almost like abusing it.
Yeah,
like
abusing
running
it. Like I was running too hard that I'm like, you know what? After high school, I'm just going to not do running for a while. Like I don't want to touch cardio in general for a while because it wasn't a love anymore. It was more of just pure...
Or like a chore.
It was a chore and pure competitiveness. It's like, all right, just gotta work hard, warrior mentality. So I've kind of changed that, and now I train strategically to make sure I'm always loving what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if that's in jeopardy, then I either take it down or I change my workout style. And what I did a lot, and maybe if people have that problem, if you are in cardio and you're not like liking it anymore, you're probably doing too much anaerobic workouts.
As in?
Anaerobic is when you're working till exhaustion. So like sprints and all that. That's like bringing your heart rate through the roof and not really easy pace. So that's what I did. I did a bunch of anaerobic stuff. You know, faster is better. Always doing speed work because I wanted to get faster. But when you do too much anaerobic, mentally it's like each workout hurts. Like you're doing like very hard stuff.
You start dreading it.
You start dreading it. So a proper balance is you need to have, I would say, 70% aerobic. Aerobic is when you're, I would say, zone 2 heart rate, when it's relatively easy. You can breathe. You can talk to a neighbor if you're like running or biking with them. That's aerobic. So aerobic, for people who are interested, is when you're using your oxygen, when there's presence of oxygen and you convert it to energy. So that's why when you do marathons or longer, you're usually aerobic because oxygen gives you the most energy out of any of the other stuff. When you're doing anaerobic, you're huffing and puffing, right? So your body does not have that much oxygen in the body. So the body cannot rely on oxygen to change it to energy. So it has to rely on your blood cells and your muscles and like your carbs and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
that's why when you do like crazy sprints and all that, your legs would feel like burning.
Mhm.
It's because your body knows that there's no oxygen. So it's using the blood cells from your muscles, and the lactate builds up much quicker. That's why when you do aerobic, like going easy, your legs feel fine. It's
Mhm.
because the lactate isn't building up too much. So that's what I'm doing now, like 70% aerobic, 30% anaerobic, and that's keeping the longevity for me. That's keeping me loving the sports that I'm doing. And when you do a lot of aerobic stuff, that builds your foundation more for the sports and builds your potential actually higher. Yeah.
How did you learn all this? I mean, was it YouTube? For me, that
Bunch
was
of YouTube, bunch of research and
Mhm.
all that stuff. Yeah.
articles, case studies, stuff like that.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
It's good, man.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't read enough like on the things we need to learn about.
Yeah.
Because like there's studies that like if you want to work out, people want to transform their bodies.
Yeah.
The tools are in front of you. Like,
Yeah.
Even if you don't have the best access to food and you just have protein powder, or whether it's like your nutrition isn't great.
Yeah.
And I know multivitamin shouldn't be like just like your safety net if someone doesn't have a healthy, you know, I'm talking about like a healthy a balance
Yeah.
of intake.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like calories definitely matter, but at the same time, it's like it's the way, and you explained it, like the carbs, the fats, the proteins, the way they synthesize in the body, even the oxygen, the amount of water supply you have, which has oxygen in it, the kind of water you're taking in, the minerals inside it.
Yes.
I mean, the small things all have factors, and if you just read up on these things and you look for an outlet, obviously everybody's different, right? Every mind is different. We all have different mentalities. Some people last longer than others. Other people are willing to push harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a barrier between what's possible and potential.
Yeah.
But if you follow not a rubric, but if you look at the vices we have, right? The assets given, you could definitely accommodate for yourself individually, right? If you
Mhm.
want to change your body, if you want to become a sprinter, you can learn the type of the intake, right? So like the food they have, their training style, the sleep,
Yep.
all the requirements, the stretching, and that's something that people don't really look into. Stretching is
Yeah.
so important, man.
I stretch every day.
Wow.
yeah.
How long? Like 20 minutes, 30 minutes,
No, I'm not. I should stretch more. I stretch like
5
a
minutes.
good 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Just
That's kind of me, like
you
in the
know,
gym, yeah.
yeah, just go down to stretch my legs for like 10 seconds,
Mhm.
spread my legs out, 10, 10, 10. So
Mhm.
maybe like 2 or 3 minutes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I should definitely do more
Mhm.
yoga. Or, yoga I heard is very helpful for
I've been meaning to get
athletes
into
like
that.
me. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm definitely interested in it. Part of me isn't that stimulated when I hear it, but I've never done it.
Yeah.
And you can't knock it until you try it.
No,
you know?
I understand. I'm the same way. It's like I'm not stimulated when I hear. It's like I have all these other things. I don't want to.
Have you heard of hot yoga?
What is that like?
It's like a 100-degree room. It's
Yeah.
a sauna, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
You do yoga in there, and when you come out, you can wring your shirt. You
Oh,
can basically fill up your bottle again. You go in there with like a 2-liter bottle.
yeah.
They tell you to come in with a shit ton of water.
So
They're
okay,
like bring like a 2-gallon kind of thing.
because you'll drink it, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long you're in there?
And you sweat it out. I've never done it. My mother used to do it. My father used to do it. I know a lot of people who are very into it.
And they're doing their yoga, but in
Yeah.
a hot room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Hot yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And you're doing these positions where it's like you're expending so much energy just
Yeah.
to maintain. And recently I neglected abs for a long time.
yeah.
And I realized how the core really stabilizes every movement, every compound movement, whether it's military press, bench
Yeah.
press, squat, deadlift. The
Yeah.
core, as soon as you engage your core,
Yeah.
you have the stability.
Yeah.
And that's really the basis of every movement. Like
Yeah.
if you want to bench, you want to control your way down and explode on the way up. But you can't explode on the way up if your
Mhm.
ass is off the chair, if your feet aren't planted right, and especially if you don't have that big breath and a tight core.
Yeah. Core is super important,
Mhm.
and especially for like deadlifting, especially like.
Mhm.
Thankfully, my core was pretty decent because I did a lot of core for running.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you don't have a good core for deadlifting, you would rely on your back rather than core.
And that's when you see the
and you
the
see
cat
that the cat,
cat
and,
back, yeah.
and your lower back gets messed up.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you have good core, that'll help.
And
Yeah.
I feel like core complements your lower spine. You
Yeah.
could also work that
Yeah.
out. You know, have you seen the Christmas tree? That smaller lower spine, the lower back area?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so like it's called the Christmas tree because of the way the muscles formed.
Oh, okay.
When it's that's for people
Oh,
who
and
have-
it's like that, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you usually don't see any people my size. I mean, it's like these dudes that are jacked. You can
Yeah.
only see it because it's
I
like a
don't-
smaller muscle group.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think I've ever seen that like live on a person. I think you have to be like what,
I have.
less than 10% body fat for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Or you just have to be gigantic.
Oh, okay.
Some dudes are huge and they're like 15% body fat, but you can still see it
Yeah.
because it's almost like 3D.
Oh,
But I mean,
okay.
it's kind of gross. Those are dudes who have like the muscle bellies.
Oh,
shit like
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also I realized that core is, for me, was the most important with the squat. Because I prefer to squat ass to grass.
Yeah.
And when you're on the way down,
Yeah.
as soon as you unrack it,
Yeah.
you know if you're gonna bring that weight up.
Yeah.
And there's a feeling sometimes like I'm like, yeah, I got this. You shake the weight,
Yeah.
all right? You tell your friend to slap you in the back as hard as you can.
Yeah.
You go, you unrack it, and you go down. And you're like, and you know in your head like, I'm not coming up with this.
Yeah. Like you feel
That's
it.
why you
It's
have a
like,
spotter. But
yeah.
And I feel like every time I failed, it was because I wasn't engaging my core.
Mm,
And it's that big breath up top, the
yeah.
stiffen your body. Well, you don't want to be too stiff. You like that's why you stretch your legs before you do the aerobic, the pelvic bowl movements, right?
Oh, okay.
The hips and all that stuff. You want
Yeah.
to stretch them out, loosen them up, your knees. But I feel like without an engaged core,
Yeah.
you jeopardize the whole movement, and you could really risk a bad injury. And that's like lower back, because I've seen people squat, fall forward,
Yeah.
or it falls backwards, or it comes off the side, the weights dump, and then it goes on the other side. You know?
Yeah. Like I actually had a minor injury senior year because of like deadlifting. Like I did deadlifting in the morning. It was like heavy deadlifting. Like at the time,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't too prepared with 2 plates, but I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do 2 plates. So I did like a full set with 2 plates
Mm-hmm.
on each side. And then after that, we had a bunch of repeats, so a bunch of sprints in the track. And that really messed up my lower back, because when you're on the track, especially going fast, you're going in a circle. So you're like tilted to the left.
Mhm.
So you're using a lot of your lower back when you're sprinting on a track. So from doing deadlifting in the morning and doing sprints on the track, it just,
With that,
it destroyed my back
Mhm.
for like a good 2 weeks or something.
I've had times like where I definitely overcompensated
Yeah.
in a lift, and I felt like I had a hernia.
Yeah.
Like there was just like a part of my abdomen that was like really hurting, but I could tell it wasn't my abs. It was like underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had that feeling arise again. One thing with form that I realized is that it's different for a lot of people. And I understand there's like, you definitely want to there's a target area, right? So you don't want your elbows to flare out more than 45%. You also don't want less. And I used to do less because
Okay.
I was like, they say 45 or less.
Yeah.
And sometimes, obviously, that didn't work because I used to pinch my front delt.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
it used to hurt. And my right shoulder was getting a lot of pain. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to wide grip.
Yeah.
Not too wide, a little more than shoulder width. And I feel like that's the best way to engage it. And also at the same time, like when I was deadlifting, sometimes I definitely overexerted.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hit a PR alone. Like
Yeah.
not even with like a group there. It was really just like about hitting it so I could hit it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was for 2, but it was a nasty 2. And I don't ever want to reach that milestone again until I could do it for like a
Yeah.
nice 4.
You
know?
ever did like a PR just for one, or?
Yeah. I was in a phase in high school.
Yeah.
But we were just in that bulking arena. Because
Yeah.
like on YouTube, they were like, yeah, you got to bulk and shred. It was
Yeah.
like one extreme or the other. So I was like, bet, it's bulk season. Me and all my boys, there was like 10 of us in the gym.
Yeah.
We're like freshmen in high school. Freshman and sophomore year, it was like a really sporadic time.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of growth and maturity and like going back and forth. So we would just eat and eat and eat. And I was watching
Yeah.
Rich Piana and Michael Hearn and Phil Heath.
I know Michael Hearn.
Yeah, there you go.
I know that.
He's
guy.
dope.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if he's natural or not. You guys should look him up, Michael Hearn, if you're interested. But I assume a lot of people aren't, which I don't
Yeah.
care. But
I don't know. He looks weird, Michael Hearn. Like his face. I don't know. Something.
he's definitely had some sort of Botox. He
Yes.
says he hasn't.
really.
I trust his word. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's been working out since he was, I think it was 8.
Yeah.
16, he was jacked
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he's 45 now and he could be that big,
Mm-hmm.
I expect that, you
Yeah.
know? So I was looking at people like him with insane genetics. That's another thing about bodybuilding and lifting and working out. Like,
Yeah.
there is a genetic difference.
There is. Yeah.
It's up to you how much you're going to let genetics determine your outcome,
Yeah.
but genetics do play a factor.
They do.
They usually do in terms of not always performance,
Yeah.
but it's like more
Aesthetics?
aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
But performance is really down to you.
There's this dude I watch on YouTube, Larry Wheels. You know Larry Wheels?
Of course.
He's friends with this guy he met where he is now in Saudi Arabia named Andrew Jacked.
Mm-hmm.
If you search him up, he has the best aesthetic.
I've seen him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That guy, yeah. He looks like a Dragon Ball Z character or something. But yeah.
Watching guys like that, though, I feel like they're always hitting PRs every day.
Yeah,
PR.
yeah.
When I was in high school, all we did was eat. So I would go in the gym, we just eat,
Yeah.
and then go in the gym, you hit a new PR, and then every week was a new PR. And I felt like also that was the beginning stage, and we talked about this. As soon as you start something new, you're gonna have this gap where you increase.
Yeah, of
And
course.
you really tell your maturity level when you hit the plateau.
Yeah.
Are you willing to keep going and work for the small steps upwards? Do
Yeah.
you want the slope to increase? Because it will if you make it.
Mhm.
But it's not going to go at the same rate it was before. It's kind of like linear now. It's
Yeah.
going to slow down. Sometimes you might peak.
There's a proper term for it. I forgot what it was called, but it was like something, the effect, like the diminishing effect. Like that's when you start something, of course. Yeah,
Mhm.
your progression is going up in a exponential curve. But
Mhm.
yeah, definitely that tests mentality once you plateau.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm enjoying climbing a lot right now, because
You're in the beginning
I would
phase.
consider myself a beginner. So I'm getting better pretty fast, but I'm gonna see what happens once I plateau
Mhm.
for that. Yeah.
It's kind of weird to identify the plateau because like in most cases it's really hard to judge ourselves,
Yeah.
where we're standing, stuff like that, which is always good to have numbers, a
Yeah.
log, and a partner. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Do you have a consistent training partner that you go with?
Most of the time with Victoria. It's
Okay.
my friend. You met her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Very nice.
Yeah, I go with her a lot, and she's better than me. So that's what I like. I like
That's great.
going with someone who's better than me, more knowledgeable than me,
Mm-hmm.
so she can tell me, "Oh, your form it'd be better if you do this or that." And she's climbing better stuff, and she's motivating me to,
Mhm.
"Oh, you should try that," or something like that.
It's a weird dynamic because like our goal is to always work out with someone better than us, right?
Yeah.
But then what's their prerogative? You know, like
Why they're
Well,
working out with
yeah,
me?
but what if she's like, hey, I want to work out with someone better than me,
Yeah.
and then like
Don't worry, she has other days. She goes all the
Yeah?
yeah,
Okay,
she
that's
goes
good.
with like I only work out with her Friday,
Mhm.
and she lives like a block away from the place.
Yeah.
So she goes like probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Mhm.
So she works out with people
That's
probably
good.
better than her, yeah.
that's a sense of like giving back, and I feel like
Yeah.
with exercise and being competitive, even sports like basketball, just teaching form, you know,
Yeah.
it's always in the form, but that's how you pass down information and experience and knowledge.
Yeah.
And I feel like the founding steps for me working up on and like really understanding myself in the gym was working out with guys that are older than me.
Yeah.
So I would go with other upperclassmen. They were hitting these numbers, and all I wanted to do was chase that, you know,
Yeah.
by any means. And obviously the means weren't always the cleanest means,
Yeah, yeah.
and it resulted in a lot of fat gain and
Yeah.
improper form and a different outlook on working out itself. But definitely having people with experience that you could ask questions about, because I mean, basically in anything you do, you're chasing the perfect rep. Whether it's you're doing a fadeaway, your footwork matters, and your footwork may not always be perfect. Whether it's the spin, the jab, you know, or even when you pull it back, you leave off one foot, maybe two, or whether you're climbing,
Yeah.
you know, how you start the wall, how you position yourself, because you don't want to expend too much energy. And one thing I realized is that climbing's a lot of legs, you know.
Yeah, it is.
And I realized this is like a path of life almost. Like whatever you do, you have to like it's always 3 points of contact, right? That's the rule.
Yeah.
3 points of contact at all times. And while you're in that position, you want to do your best to make it quick. Also, you want to assess what's ahead of you. You don't want to rely and you don't want to dwell too much in the past, but you do want to make sure that your footing, right? Like metaphorically, it's the past, right? Because like it's below you. You're
Mhm.
working your way up the wall, but you definitely want to make sure you know how to get down. But not also that. It's like it's more about where you're standing, your foundation.
Yeah.
So you don't want to look too much in the past, but you also have to understand that your foundation matters, right?
Yeah.
Your legs, your grip, and this goes for everything, every walk of life, even every sport, you know.
Mhm.
And as you're working your way up, whether it's metaphorically or physically, you're working your way up the wall.
Yeah.
You have to assess not only one step ahead, but 2 or 3. You know,
Yeah.
how's that helped you? And do you feel like it's helped you with work or school? Do you apply it?
Climbing?
Yeah. Like the principle.
The principle of climbing, just thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mostly just helped me mentally. Like it's a good thing outside of what I'm doing. So
Mhm.
I'm studying every single day. So climbing is outside from that. So
It's an escape.
it's an escape, and the community also, you know, being surrounded by those people. And it's also what's the beautiful thing about climbing, also with like weights, like your goal is like you want to put more weight on the bench eventually.
Mm-hmm.
With the climbing is like you see different routes. It's like, all right, I'm working on this route, but maybe in a year I could do that route, you know? So it's visually there, like your progression, you
Mhm.
know, your goal is visually there. It's like,
Mhm.
I want to do that eventually. But yeah, that's a big problem that most people have with climbing is the legs, like you said. You know,
Mhm.
most people
Yeah,
focus
I
on
was
the...
abusing upper body.
Yeah, that's why girls pick up climbing better than men. It's because they don't really have too much upper body, like power as much as
The
men.
potential muscle mass is a lot different. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
building. Yeah.
Like they don't do pull-ups really like let's say a beginner female climber, so they need to rely on legs a lot to go up the wall. So their technique is much better than a man. A man is like,
I'm gonna muscle it.
like they're gonna muscle it, or especially if you've done pull-ups like prior to starting climbing. It's like, all right, I'm gonna just use my upper body for this. And throughout the wall, you don't feel it yet, but once you're halfway up or something, you're already super fatigued,
Draining.
and the girl is gonna pass you because she has better technique. So yeah, footwork is, I would say, 70%, 80% of like climbing.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I remember we were at the course, and I'm on one of the beginner trails going up.
Yeah.
Or do you call it a trail or like a
route?
A route. Okay.
Yeah, route.
So I'm doing like one of the simple routes.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting adversity, right? I'm getting challenged, and I look to my right, and I see this smaller woman climbing, and
I think I saw that. Yeah.
and she's in the most uncomfortable looking position, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she's climbing like a spider, and I was like, "What? How does she do that?" And you told me you were like, she can't even do a pull up, or maybe her max is like a couple pull ups.
Yeah, yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, I could do 15,
Yeah.
but I cannot do that. Like,
Yeah.
she has mastered it
Yeah.
beyond belief, like in my terms, you know.
Yeah.
And if you were to look at it as in the standpoint of like bodybuilding, like weightlifting, or just like accomplishments and numbers, I would have thought my numeric value holds more weight than her experience and her assessment.
That's the difference of climbing. Like climbing, it's not a static workout where it's just numbers. You know, climbing is like a sport, a sport in itself. You have to know all the techniques and all that. It's like for swimming, one workout swimmers do is like a machine. It's like a pull.
The row.
Yeah, like a row, and if you lay down, they have that now. If you lay down on your stomach and you grab like the pulley and you pull, you know, like that'll help your pull in swimming. So you can't be like, oh, I can lift the whole rack when I do that. That means I'm gonna be a better swimmer than you.
Yeah, I thought my deadlift or like my dumbbell row was gonna help my swimming technique.
Yeah,
it didn't. No.
Yeah, because swimming is not a static sport. It's
Endurance.
It's a sport in itself. So you need the technique, you need the endurance and the strength. So, like for people who are good at the numbers for climbing, pull-ups is definitely extremely beneficial. But you only have one part of like three. You know, you need the power, the technique, and the endurance for that. But when I tell most people for climbing is focus on your technique, your footwork, and your grip strength. You know, if you have that, like you can be a really good climber and not even do a pull-up. Yeah, because if you know how to use your footwork, then you're in a position where you don't need to hold your body. You know, your feet are doing the work for you. You know, only when you get to really high levels, then pull-ups are required, like upper body strength is required. But I would say from beginner to intermediate, you don't even need to do a pull-up actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about climbing is that the belay.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, I am belay certified. I got in
one day, right?
In a day.
Yeah.
With my teacher here. So basically, it's you run the rope, and this is a climbing rope, so it's really it's thick, but it's also it's got this coarse feeling to it, and it'll like shred your fingers if you let it.
Yeah.
But basically you run it through your belt loop because you're hooked up to a waistband, and it goes around your legs, and you put it through the loop. You do a figure eight.
Yep.
You reroute the figure eight, and then you finish with an overhand, or is it?
You finish with like 2 loops and then like
and a pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the secondary mechanism.
Yeah. Yep.
So basically, the beauty of the belay when you're going up is like you can reassess. So let's say you hit failure.
Yeah.
Let's say like I'm climbing up the wall and like I'm trying to aim for a jump, or like I'm working my best to hit a new spot, but I can't, and like my forearms give out, or my hold is it's gone, right? And I fall.
Yeah.
I get to hang in the air as you hold my rope, and it's secure. It's not even like I'm dangling. I can if I fall wrong, but it's safe. And I feel like even as I'm hanging there, and like I try to get blood back into my forearms, and like I try to reassess, you get to stop, and you're like, you take a breath, right? And you get to think, you're like, all right, how should I look at this differently? How should I work my way up? And as I was up there, like the thoughts that go through my head in a moment where I'm about to reach failure, or I can by a margin succeed, like by the skin of my teeth, I could get the next hold and work my way up. There's like thoughts that just run through my head, and I'm thinking about the craziest things, but the beauty of the belay is that you could stop and you could think. And I feel like that aspect of working out, you don't find in many other sports.
You really don't. You really
You
don't.
can't. There's a peace. It's like tranquil, you know?
It is,
Mhm.
and I keep telling my friend that, Pedro is like, if you fail halfway, doesn't mean I bring you down. It's like,
Mhm.
maybe you can complete it.
Mhm.
That's the beauty of when it's a 2-person belay. It's
Mhm.
like you can, there's a term called project, and a project is when you're doing a route, but for many, many days, like maybe you can't even complete it the first day. But that's the beauty of having belays. Like you can maybe figure out the first quarter section,
Mhm.
and then the second quarter section, the third quarter section,
Mhm.
and the fourth quarter, and then finally, if you really want to master it, you finish it from the bottom to the top,
Mhm.
So that's really good about belaying. But then that's what I also like about auto belaying in the section where
Mhm.
you don't need another person. If you mess up, then it just brings you down. So you need to like perfect that
Mhm.
that route.
Yeah, it's
So,
like
yeah.
the free solo where like you don't have a safety net.
Yeah,
There's something really alarming about that, but it's also eye opening.
yeah,
You know, because it makes you have no other choice but to use your best cognitive skills and assess things as
Yeah.
well as you can. Because if you don't, you will pay the price heavily. you know?
yeah,
Like Alex Honnold climbing a wall and like a granite block, like a literal mountain without any safety net, no wires, no rope, nothing like that.
yeah.
Where certain death is a factor.
He
That's
did
crazy.
he did that because he truly wanted to master El Capitan, because he
Mhm.
believed that if you solo it, that means you've truly mastered every single sequence of it. And that's why I see a difference between like auto belaying and like regular belaying.
Mhm.
Is with auto belaying you can't make a mistake. Like if you make a mistake, you will be brought down slowly.
But you get to restart.
You get to restart, obviously, but with the other belaying is you can make a bunch of mistakes but stay there. So
Mhm.
that's the mentality that Honnold had for El Capitan, is if I do it solo and I complete it, that means I truly perfected
And I
that
didn't
climb.
make mistakes. Well, he did along the line. You know, there was some times where he was like, I should have done this differently. Because didn't they reassess at night, or like, this was several days, right? That he completed this, or was it?
No, he completed in like 5 hours, 4 hours.
He did, right?
Yeah, like he did one attempt, but he
In the
was
documentary, it seemed like they stopped.
there was
right?
one attempt he did at night, but he got scared, so he just went back down and then did it another day. But the
Mhm.
day when he officially completed it, he did it in like 4 hours perfectly, the bottom to the top.
Have you seen that video of there was this guy in, I think it was Hong Kong. It was in China, and he was famous for
I think you told me we
Daredevil,
were
right?
talking about this, right, where he died unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or that guy, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
So there's a video of him. It's like security footage at the top of a skyscraper,
yeah. I saw that.
and he's holding on, and next thing you know, just poof.
I don't know why he couldn't pull himself up.
Apparently he had great pull-up strength. I mean, I've
Yeah.
watched his videos before that, and
Yeah.
he was doing like these somersaults. His pull-up
Yeah,
strength
yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah,
Pretty sure you could do a muscle up easily, right?
yeah,
And eventually you lose it, you know? And I've been in that position before, like obviously not certain death, but like
hmm
when you're in that position of like almost certain failure,
yeah,
and you don't know what to do, not only do you start shaking, but like you start twitching a little bit, and like I wonder the nerves that go through someone like that, like your nervous system, like how you just tremble. you
yeah.
know?
I wonder. I don't even want to think of what he was
Mm-hmm.
going through. He probably had a really like bad positioning with his hands. Like it wasn't a good like
Mhm.
pull or whatever, and maybe the glass was very slippery. He couldn't pull himself up. I don't know.
That's true.
I have no idea. But
There's so many factors that go into these things.
yeah, but that mindset, I like kind of life or death. But I have that when I'm bouldering,
Mhm.
like in the Gunks.
You should elaborate for those who don't know.
The Gunks is a mountain up north in New York State. It's a little upstate, and that's a place mostly for bouldering and route climbing. So
Gotcha.
route climbing is what we did with Massimo in the cliffs with the belay, and then there's lead climbing. Lead climbing is when you start with the rope at the bottom, and this is where you see most climbing videos. You start with the rope in the bottom, and there will be clips along the route, and then you would clip the rope onto the route.
Mm-hmm.
So that's lead climbing. So they have all those three in the Gunks. So I was in the Gunks. When you do bouldering, you would have the mats on the floor. So you don't have that.
Bouldering is no strings, right?
Yeah, bouldering is just like a big rock you got to climb maybe like 10, 15 feet or even 20 feet, like up.
Mhm. And no harness.
No harness, nothing.
Gotcha.
And you don't have the luxury like you have in a gym with a bunch of mats everywhere. You have to bring your own mat and put it there. So there was one boulder when I went to, you can hang that up. scam.
I continue.
Yeah, my bad.
No worries.
So when I was in Maine, after we finished climbing Mount Washington, the next day we went to a place to do some bouldering.
Mm-hmm.
And in this place, there was a 20-foot boulder, and it was just a crack. Just a crack. I think I showed you a picture of it. It was just a crack up. And I always get to the top, but I can't complete the last move because the last move is a sloper, and a sloper is like a smooth grip. So you would need to have your hand like that, like a palm grip. And I'm like, I can't complete it because if I would commit to the move, I would slip out. I know I would slip out, and then I would fall really, really bad. So rather than doing that, I just tell them, all right, I'm gonna jump down. So I had
How many feet?
I was like 20 feet high.
Jesus.
So I was like looking down. So I had to really like jump down and then like squat down and then
safe landing.
Sort of a roll, yeah, safe landing.
How do you prepare yourself for a drop like that?
You just
don't.
You just gotta
really
take
can't.
a couple breaths and just like hope nothing.
This is it.
Hope your landing is perfect. But that's how it was. Like going up the climb, it was like, okay, maybe I got it, and now I'm like at the very top. I'm like, when you're at the top, usually you think you have to complete it. But I was in a position where I actually cannot complete it.
So if you get to the top, can you walk around and go down?
Yeah, like you can top it. I didn't complete it though. I was
Gotcha,
like
yeah.
one move away from it. So for this specific boulder, yeah, you need to go on top of the boulder and then walk around it. But for this one, I was at the very top and I just couldn't complete it. But for most things I do is like if you go to the top, you gotta complete it. But for this one, I wasn't able to.
Is that your goal to complete it next time?
Yeah, hopefully we'll see. But yeah, that wasn't in my head like ever before. It was like, oh wow, I'm 20 feet high and I actually cannot complete this boulder. So the only option I have is to jump down. So that's when it was like kind of scary. So if they recorded me like talking, maybe my voice was probably like really shaky. I was like, guys, position the mat like good. And they're like, okay, and they were like that. So then I jumped down and I was like, but it was really, really scary. But like it still felt like probably what that guy was feeling through. Like it really felt like super duper scary. And the nerves is going through, and especially knowing that you can't do it. Like, and I had to jump down.
I don't know. We were talking about the mental abilities, right? Like,
yeah.
Do you know if you couldn't have done it?
No, I know. Like, because I am really, really aware of my. I think I'm pretty aware of my physical ability. Like, I push it really hard, like all the time. So that was just a risky, very risky move. Maybe I could have sticked it, but it was just too risky for me to do. Like if I messed that up, I would have swung open and like fell back and
So
would have
you'd
landed
rather-
on my back.
Exactly.
So I'm like, I have to play it safe. So
You'd rather fail with integrity.
yeah.
Yeah.
And climbing, it could be very dangerous if you are very risky. So I definitely want to do it as safe as possible. So harness and all that, that's super safe. But bouldering, that's where it can get tricky. So I always make sure I do boulders that are in my wheelhouse or they're not too high. So this one was like not in my wheelhouse. It was definitely a higher grade than what I'm used to. And it was really, really high. Still the highest boulder I've done like till this day. It was, yeah.
So have you heard are there any statistics for like people who boulder often? Like I'm assuming there has to be like a high death ratio.
Yeah,
There is, right?
probably. Yeah, I'm
'Cause, like,
pretty sure.
I've seen stuff like that, or how those TV shows like Stranded or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's the name, but it's like on Nat Geo Wild. Basically, like they put you in this predicament where like let's say like a climber is climbing up and he fell like 60 feet somehow, managed to survive
Okay.
and stuff like that. They never get found or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's so dangerous, and people like in order to find an area suitable for bouldering, like an actual verified boulder,
Yeah.
and they use the V scale. It's like a V1, V6, right?
Yeah.
In order to find one of those, you have to go to these terrains that are not usually traveled on. It's like hard to get to, especially for advanced medical personnel. In order to find you, sometimes or most of the time, I'd assume if the ambulance can't get through and the people are traveling on foot, the next step is what? Helicopter. You got to be lifted out.
Yep.
That's hard. In order to get contact with them.
Yeah.
And how long is the wait? I know they're going. There's no traffic in the sky, although there is. It's
Yeah.
not as bad as on foot. but it's tough, you know.
Yeah.
There's so many more factors that can go wrong. You
Yeah.
got to keep in mind, you know.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't want to make that risky move. You
I
know,
respect
like
that. I respect
I didn't want to put a burden on like emergency personnel because I wanted to do something risky, you know.
that. Mm-hmm.
But interestingly enough, when we climbed in, what's that place we climbed? Brickneck. Yeah, that's also upstate New York. When we were going up, I would say the first hard part of the climb, not the latest one we did, not that, but like
the almost vertical one.
Like not that one, but after that, I think how many times I took you to Breakneck?
We've gone twice. I've gone twice with you.
So the first time I went with you, like kind of like the first part of the hard, like where it gets hard.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, that's where a woman actually froze up and didn't want to move at all. Like I didn't see her, but like I heard a story from a dude who climbs there all the time, and he saved her actually. So when this woman was halfway up the climb and was super duper scared, so your body can do that. It's like if you're really really scared, you'll freeze. Like you won't even move up or down.
I've had that feeling.
And she was stuck there, like when you're in like a bad position. So they had to call like helicopter and all that stuff. Yeah. But they couldn't do anything. So the guy, my friend, he had to climb down and like help her and all that stuff. Yeah.
That's great. That's good leadership. I mean, to be able to focus and kind of like delegate in a situation like that, because if she wants to get out, he's not carrying her, you know?
Yeah.
He's got to give her the steps, but she has to take them herself.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. That's what he did. He had to help her like do each move and everything like that. But that's what I was always scared of. Like, hopefully I don't get in a position like that. So I love climbing and all that, but I'm not gonna do risk-taking stuff like that, unfortunately.
Like daredevilish?
Yeah.
As much as you want to push the envelope, you want to be safe.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna keep training until I feel like physically I can do it no problem. Then I'll do something a little more daring, but I'm not gonna do something stupid.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose to jump down rather than risk it for the biscuit on that move. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if there's no cameras, I mean, there's no highlight, you know?
Yeah, no highlight. Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, speaking of advanced medical personnel, I know we weren't anything near that because all we had was a CPR Red Cross certification, right?
Yep.
And that's basically it.
Yeah.
And a couple badges to verify and a little red whistle or orange.
Yep.
Are we allowed to share our experiences as lifeguards?
Yeah.
We are?
Yeah.
I thought there was like a union contract where like you can't say anything about your cases or...
Cases? I'm not sure. I don't know about cases.
So let's just call it hypothetical. Did you have any
hypothetical, yeah.
Have you imagined any... Were there any cases in your experience that like were alarming to you?
Yeah, in my head, I had a case where hypothetically I was walking around the corner of the pool, the baby section, C section.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You know, the C, right?
We call it C section because it's like the corner.
Yeah, it's the corner.
Not because of the
operation. The operation, yeah. So the C, B, and A. So I was in C, and it was Mark who brought it up to me in that moment. I was walking away from C, and he's like, "Hey, I think you should check this out," hypothetically. And I go there.
Good job alerting.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
And I'm like, "Oh, thanks for letting me know, Mark." And it was a woman just passed out on a dude's shoulder, like that. So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So bring the person. Told them to bring it onto the vents. There's like, you know, those vents on the drain. The drain on the floor. And the first thing I had to do, like, she was unconscious, like, so you
guys can tell she was just leaning on him, like if it was like.
Instantly I knew she was like unconscious. She was like that,
and head above the water. She didn't go under.
Yeah, her head was above the water, and the dude was also like, "Oh, there's something wrong with her." You know?
Unresponsive or a pulse.
So she was first unresponsive. So I was like tapping her shoulders to see if she would wake up. So the next thing I did was the procedure just to check her pulse and breathing. So luckily she did have a pulse and she was breathing.
And it's what, at least 5 seconds, no more than 10, right?
To check, you mean? Yeah. Yes. So once I knew she was breathing and had a pulse, I knew like from experience that she just had like heat exhaustion and she just passed out from that. So I asked Dawa was there as well, and I'm like, "Can you help me pick up her and put her in the shade?" and that was first year, so he was way too scared to do it. So he just like, no, no, no. So luckily, an experienced guard came over named Julio, and he came and helped me pick up the body and bring it to the shade. And in the shade, that's where we like took off our shirts and wet it just to cool her off and all that. And that's when Lieutenant,
You gave her your shirt?
yeah, I
Okay.
took off the shirt, wet it, and just put it on her,
Smart.
like making
Cool her down.
cool her down,
Mhm.
right? And that's when the Lieutenant, Gio, and Chief Carolina came, and they were doing. The chief did her assessment, and it was incorrect, her first assessment, because she believed that she didn't have a pulse and was not breathing. So she began doing CPR, and me and the lieutenant were like, no, like we already assessed her. She is breathing and has a pulse, so you wouldn't do CPR in that situation.
Mhm.
So luckily,
Did she begin compressions at all?
she was doing compressions, yeah.
So
it was
how far into this process did she get?
just like one or two,
Okay.
like
luckily,
compressions,
okay.
yeah. So that's what you do, is like when supposedly when you're a higher, more experienced guard and come into the scene, you would reassess. You would, make
Mhm.
sure that
Yeah, you gotta
everything
double check. Yeah.
you got to double check, right? So she felt something different, so that's why she was doing the CPR. But luckily, she didn't need to do that because me and the lieutenant assessed correctly. And yeah, after a few seconds, she woke up, and then they called the ambulance and all that,
Mhm.
took her away.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
I've only had several cases, hypothetically, in mind.
yeah,
One of them was this girl. So basically, we're talking about the C-section, the corner, right?
got it. Yeah,
And basically, it's the baby pool, which goes from literally a centimeter, and it's like one of those things that you see at like a hotel, or like an indoor water park, right? It's like you just walk in, and it eventually gets lower.
Yep.
It's imitating an ocean. So you walk in,
Yes.
it goes from 1 inch to basically 2 feet, 2.5 feet. You turn the corner, you're at 4 feet.
horrible architecture and
Why would-
construction
Why would
for
you,
that pool, by the way.
I
That
don't
is
know who
absolutely
oversaw
horrible.
this, but why would you put a baby area
Next to the deepest section of the pool.
the deepest point? It's almost
Yeah.
5 feet. So
Yeah.
you're going from 2
So
to 5
stupid.
like that,
Yeah,
which is the drop. And we
It-
see heads go under.
it should have been like that, and then all the way to the right. It should have been.
It should have
deeper.
been 1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet,
Yeah,
4
just keep
feet,
going.
lap.
Yeah,
hmm
that's how it should have been. Yep.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we had to man that corner on the hot days, like the heat waves.
Yep.
We hit like max capacity, like 1,500 people,
Yeah.
which was crazy.
Yeah.
Bill de Blasio came for his photo op and his smile, and he called us all soldier. Remember that? He walked by, he's like, "How you doing, soldier?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes into the tent. He was talking to Kelvin and
Oh,
and
okay.
Wasim.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool that he came by. Yeah, I'll hang that up.
Yeah. Look at that number. What is that number,
I
man?
don't even know. We'll hang it up.
Let me put it on silent.
Gotcha.
So you were saying?
No, I'll give you some time so that way, like, I'll edit it. There you go. It is 5:11, by the way. Time
Okay.
is good.
Yeah, time's good. Yeah.
So yeah, de Blasio comes by, does the whole photo op, shakes his hand, shakes everyone's hand, and they're like, and then you see like on the press, like the mayor overlooks the pool,
Yeah.
and it's almost like insinuating that like he runs it, blah blah. And then when you're with the working class,
Yeah.
you're like, hey man, we're the operation, we want our credit,
Yeah.
blah blah. But at the same time, we weren't allowed to talk to anybody, no looking at
That is
cameras,
true, yeah.
eyes on the water, like a statue almost, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I saw him again this summer. I'd love to meet him personally, have a conversation, you know, just
Yeah.
understand some more about him.
Yeah.
But I mean, like when you do something like that and it's like this nonchalant hello. I remember like he was talking to our chief and even our borough coordinator.
Yeah.
They have this conversation that just seems so pathetic to me.
Yeah.
It's like because there's cameras and he's surrounded by a group of people
Mm-hmm.
and he's just smiling
Yeah.
and they're all laughing and they're like,
It's all public figure. It's all about that.
yeah, but I don't think you earn anything in a conversation like that. Like, you know, like I understand his time is well managed and there's a crew that keeps track of it for him.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, gotta go, let's go.
Yeah.
And he has an entourage everywhere he goes, a press team, and people to deal with other stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like just witnessing someone come in and just like smile and wave,
Yeah.
and it's like demeaning almost, because like we're part of the operation, and someone just comes in, does their little thing, and
Okay.
leaves. You know?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
I mean, I didn't care. Like,
Yeah, at the same time, it was
uh,
like another day of work. You know?
another day, just the mayor just reveling on, you
Mhm.
know, I guess,
He was giving a speech, I think, right?
I think so, or
Did
something.
he say something? Yeah.
He's just, I don't know, proud of whatever his team
mean, he
did for
should
the
be.
pool, you
That's
know?
good,
So,
I mean, every single kid, each person that's in a pool, instead of doing other stupid things in the summer, is what you want, right? this summer during
100%.
coronavirus, is like
Yeah.
the main thing is you want to keep kids, especially the youth, you want to keep them away from harm's way, and they can definitely put themselves in a predicament where they cross that road, and we all do, you know.
Yeah.
But definitely having an available facility like a pool, where it's better if the kids horseplay in the pool than metaphorically
I agree.
mess around in the streets, you
Yeah.
know. Especially in
100%.
bad neighborhoods. I mean, I was working in Kosciuszko Pool this summer,
Yeah.
which is in Marcy Ave.
Yeah.
Great pool, great people. As always, it's hectic, and kids, young teens, you have to earn their respect, or it's either you respect yourself, or they're not going to respect you. You know.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna lay down the law. I don't care if you're a woman or a male.
Yeah.
As a lifeguard, if you lay down the law, they will respect it.
Yep.
But if you're lenient, and I learned that, like if you give them an inch, they will take it. You give them 2 inches,
So true.
they will take it. They will keep taking.
100%.
And it's not any demographic either. It's just the nature, human nature.
That's just human nature. Yeah.
Mhm.
100%.
You give and I will take. You know,
Yeah.
if it's up for grabs, likely I'm gonna try to take it. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I learned that the hard way for sure. I think the first year or two, I did that. Like I was
Mhm.
lenient, but after that, I
Yeah.
gave, like even to the cutest of kids,
Yeah.
like if they jump, I'm like, yo, one more time, time out, you're
Mhm.
out or something,
Mhm.
whatever, you know. But yeah,
Yeah, I remember
always gotta be strict.
one time I had to kick a family out
Yeah,
because the father was throwing his daughter in the pool and his nephews, and I was like, look, I understand it's your kids.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can play in the pool. No tricking, nothing, no sitting on the shoulders. But
yeah,
you can't throw your kids in. There's no jumping in. And that's our rule,
yeah.
and it's gonna stand. And he was
Mhm.
like, okay. And I
And they
think
did it again or
I
something.
think the mother was drinking, or she drank before. She was slurring her words and she was yelling at me.
Yeah,
And I was like, all right, you guys gotta go.
yeah,
All right, so they're all jumping in. I was like, that's enough. Stop it. And then
Yeah.
they jump in again. I was like, and then I do my 3 whistles, call my chief over, Gio, ready to kick some ass. This guy has my follow no matter what. I mean, Gio is down.
I mean, yeah,
Gio's down. He
He's,
was our
he's on our
enforcement.
backs all the time. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
That was such a great feeling because he told me, he was like, if someone ever tries you and
Yeah.
all you're doing is your job, you call me. He's
Yeah,
like, you don't have a
of course.
worry in the world. I'm
Yeah.
your backup.
yeah.
For me, that was the most reassuring thing in the world. You know,
Mhm.
having that supervision
Mm-hmm.
and that trust. So he comes up. He's like, you guys got to bounce.
Yeah,
Or else I'm going to kick you out myself. You know?
Yeah. I mean, what's good about that, having a lieutenant and having like the higher personnel, is your words have meaning, you know?
Mhm.
Like the worst thing is you're saying, oh, you know, I'm going to kick you out, but you know, you don't have any enforcement.
Exactly.
And that
Luckily,
happened.
we did.
Luckily, we
Mhm.
did, and it was much better, you know. I would say you guys and maybe the year before were pretty lucky because the enforcement and all that was much better. When
Mhm.
I started, like,
There was like a beef, right, between parks
there was
and lifeguards.
major beef, and they were super lazy, so they wouldn't do it. So
Did they have a change of staff? I know
yeah,
their chief was great.
yeah, they
He
had
was
a,
with us all the time.
they had a change of staff, and his name's Henry.
Mhm.
He was
He was
really
dope, yeah,
yeah,
that's
he's
the
super good guy. Always worked, but the
Mhm.
one prior didn't do anything. I think the one prior had some like not affair, but like something with Carolina. But then there was one prior, and super duper lazy. They didn't do anything. So when you would say something, it's like, oh, I'm gonna kick you out. It's like deep down, it's like, you probably can't. You know,
Mhm.
they're not gonna help. They're
Yeah.
either gonna jump like crazy that it becomes absolute havoc.
Mhm.
Then they notice.
Exactly.
So now, luckily, if you say it, oh, I'm gonna kick you out, you call
Mhm.
Gio, and then the Henry and them will come and kick them
Yeah.
out, no problem.
Mhm.
The problem we had back then is they would always wait until it was like major
The
catastrophe,
worst
like
case situation.
the worst case, the entire pool
Mm-hmm.
jumping in. So our previous chief named Ari, she just had enough with it. It's like, you know what? Just let them jump. Like, don't even whistle for anything.
Let them hurt themselves.
Let them hurt
Libertarian.
themselves. And it was like absolute chaos. The entire pool, like over
They overran.
no,
Right.
what was that, like when it's full, over capacity, right?
Yeah.
All of them all jumped in. It's insane. Like the whole entire pool just jumping in crazy and all that. And then they finally had to they noticed, and they had to come and like do all the work.
Mhm.
It's because we didn't whistle. We didn't want to whistle because we wanted them to work. So
Really? So you were like protesting in a way.
yeah, it was essentially like a silent protest without doing anything, but it
Literally
actually,
silent. Yeah.
yeah. So that helped, and
Mhm.
finally the years went by, and it changed.
Yeah.
You know?
I gotta say they're impressive. Yeah, their regime just working all together.
yeah,
Whether it was K Pool or working at McCarran,
yeah,
I noticed that the leadership, the Parks Department, that we call them PEP.
yeah, but,
I don't even know what it stands for. All I know is that PEP is our friend,
yeah,
and we're friends with PEP too. So if anyway, like we can't really look out for them
yeah,
because in most cases it's them looking out for us.
yeah,
But you could repay it with respect. I mean, just like a nice hello, talk. Because they're all good people, you know. They're
Yeah,
just
of course.
working like us in the
Yeah.
sun,
mm-hmm.
getting drained, getting burned. You know, you don't enjoy it naturally, but
yeah,
it is what it is. And I feel like the best part about that was I would say it's pretty satisfying when a kid says, he's like, "You're not gonna kick me out. Try me." I'm like, "Bet."
Yeah.
And I do my whistle. I'm like, "Pep, come here, kick him out. No questions asked."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, no questions asked." Like, obviously, this is a real opportunity for someone who's power hungry to just start kicking people out.
Yeah.
But let's say like when I kicked that family out, the woman got in my face.
Yeah.
After I called Gio over, she was like, "You pussy bitch, blah blah blah. You tight ass on my kid's jump. I should spit on you, blah blah blah." And you could tell that she was not in this normal capacity, because then Wasim comes over and he's like, "Ma, what's going on? You good?" And I was like, "Yeah, thank you, bro. Looking out, you know." And then because everyone else was on chair, he was walking around. He's senior guard, and she comes to him. She's like, "Ooh, you nice chunk of chocolate, boy." And I was like, "What?"
Was I there? Was I there or no?
You might have been sitting. You might have been on another chair, because we had
Okay.
12 posts.
I could have sworn.
She said that to him.
I probably heard that. Yeah.
She said that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know what her ethnicity was, but
I think I was there. Where was it? Was it like near chair 11 or something?
I don't remember the numbers. I think it was, so 7 is corner, right?
Yeah.
The other one is 8. 7 and 8 are touching corner.
8 is right next to C.
So it's 7, 8, 9, right? 10,
Yeah.
11.
Yeah. I think I was on
11. It was chair 11.
Yeah.
Chair 11.
I know. I
Yep.
was on chair 10, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or it was the other way around. I think I was 10, you were 11.
Okay.
Cause then,
Maybe.
Might
Because
have
I could have sworn I heard Wasim walk by and I heard that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You heard that?
Yeah, I think.
Thank you. And he was like, "Oh no. Oh no."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Stop it." Like he thought she was flirting at first, but she was getting disrespectful. She was
Yeah,
like, "I
it's
should
like-
come up and smack you,
Yeah.
get you out of your chair." And I was like, "Okay, this Gio, kick her out." And he was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, she's got to go." And I've heard stories of Gio. He's like, "Yeah, I had to scrap with a couple people.
Yeah.
It's my pool."
Were you? I don't know if you were there that day.
Never,
It,
but
it
I
was,
wanna
it was
hear
like it was like near my face. Literally, I was there
Really?
like helping, like trying to break it up. And then Gio was like, you gotta get out. And the guy just swang at Gio.
Damn.
And Gio like dodged and swang
Yeah.
back, and then we had to hold him back and everything like that. But that was a couple years ago.
Gio told me the time he two-pieced, and I'm describing Gio, and I should really get into detail about like what he looks like. So Gio is a Puerto Rican male, but he's dark, and he's like grown up. Everyone thought I was black, so
Yeah.
it helped me out when he's on the streets. He was talking about M Block and all that stuff. He has his boys.
Yeah.
They would hang out. He would bring his guys in, and they would just hang out. They were good people. They'd come in. Like, you could bring your own friends as a lifeguard,
Yeah.
as long as you tell the chief, as long as you look out. So I'd hear stories sitting at the table when I wasn't on shift, and he's telling me this one time that he had to two-piece a guy. And I forgot what the guy did, whether he was like, because there's a lot of perverts in public pools,
Mhm.
a shit ton. Like dudes that are, I remember this summer, there was some guy that was, he was like throwing this girl in the pool, and we're like, is that a kid? No.
Yeah.
He was like playing with this little girl. I understand, like, we didn't know what was going on, but there's like,
Yeah.
there's definitely weird people who try to grope, shit like that. I don't know what Gio had to do, but he's like, "Dude, I came up, this guy swung, gave him a 1-piece and a 2-piece. And he's telling me this is like 8 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, "He's out cold." And
Yeah,
the police came, they were high-fiving me and shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, Pep brought him out, and they were screaming my name. Gio's hilarious, bro. He's such a funny character, but like, he could goof around, but at times, no, he's serious when it needs to be serious. He definitely has like a laid-back approach, because in his terms of life experience, he's not stressing about kids jumping in a pool. And I understand, like, it could get dangerous, right? That's when it becomes serious. But like, in terms of a threat, like someone yelling back at a lifeguard, that's not going to shake someone like Gio,
Yeah.
who's grown up in areas where gang is very very real around that area, you know?
Yeah,
It's like beefing
he's
jumps.
been through some deep experience and
Mhm.
all that, just in his persona and all
Yeah.
that. So he knows
The way he
when
carries himself.
he knows when to be serious and when not to be,
Mhm.
due to all this experience he had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see it in his friends. Like when I was talking to them, we're just most of the time when they talked, I wouldn't speak. I would listen in, or I would just do my own thing, because like, I don't want to seem like that kid is just trying to annoy the old heads. But like,
yeah.
they were talking, you could tell there's definitely this demeanor. It's like they've been through a lot. One of them, remember
Yeah.
the poop bag? Sammy, right?
Yeah.
He was like, "You want to see me fart, kid?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Shit, yeah, I love farts. Let me hear it." And he was like, "I just did it." And his bag rumbled. And I was like, "You have a bag?" And he opens his shirt and he pulls out a bag and it's attached. And he was like, "Yeah, I got stabbed, man." And he told me. And I was like, "Damn, it's really unfortunate." He's like, "Yo, listen, in life, take the harder road. It's worth it. But listen, this taught me a lesson that I'm never going to give up either. So if you try to change me, you won't." And I was like, it's a good lesson, because he came from a certain standpoint and he's willing to learn from it, but he's also not willing to change who he is, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is me. This is me now. This is who I am. I've come from this walk of life. I'm going to use it to approach certain things in the future, but there's no shame in it, you know?
Yeah. 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 For sure.
I definitely respect that.
Gio and his friends, they've redeemed themselves tremendously. And
Yeah, Gio has a great rep. I mean, like in the neighborhood alone, mothers and fathers,
Yeah.
grandmothers would come with their grandchildren and be like, "Oh my God, hello."
Yeah, yeah.
He'd kiss them hello, hi, how you doing, love? He'd have a speaker. I mean, this is a guy who I felt like at times could be intimidating, but at the same time only meant the best. you
Yeah,
know?
of course.
He
Yep.
had really good intentions. I felt like
Yeah.
around us, a really positive person.
Yeah.
It was great leadership to have.
Gio is a good dude that definitely made lifeguarding better. There was one year, I don't know if you were there that year. It was Gio was the only one at the pool.
No.
Yes. So this was the year when Addie, our previous chief, left, and prior to Carolina came. So that was 1 year in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we were trying to look for a chief. It was just Gio the whole year. So it was like one of the easiest years.
We call it the year, but it's the summer.
The
And
summer,
season, right?
the
Yeah.
season, yeah.
I call it like my second year of lifeguarding, but
Yeah.
in reality, I only have like 6 months racked up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a great year. Yeah, for sure.
Because the geo policy definitely works.
It does. It does. Like
He kind of has a libertarian approach, like you said, like with the other chief, where it was like, let them hurt themselves.
yeah.
Because his idea is more of like, because in the pool, this summer I saw it a lot. There was like these random kids, and I also I've worked in 3 pools. I worked in Lasker. Remember I told you that?
Yeah.
And it was definitely great. That was the hardest pool I ever worked in.
Really?
Central Park, it's a giant pool. It's a giant circle.
Mm.
So all the bad kids go to the middle when they're dunking each other. I understand who doesn't want to dunk your boys. Like my favorite sport in the backyard was pool basketball.
Okay.
So your friend's going to the rim. What do? You suplex him.
Yeah, yeah.
You drown him.
Yeah, yeah.
By any means, he's not scoring that basket. So I understand, like, you got to be careful. There's a couple times where I chugged water, and so did my friends. And you get up coughing, you got to pause the game.
Mhm.
But when you're in a public facility like that, we can't allow it to happen. So these kids are dunking mothers. There's one kid tried to throw a mom who was holding a baby,
Oh my gosh.
shoving, because they're like, move, because
Yeah.
they're chasing their friends. Like,
That's
nah,
the worst.
he's it. So they're like shoving this woman who was holding a baby, and I was like, nah, get out.
Yeah.
And what they would do is they would go to the middle. And thankfully, I had a beard. I guess, like, they thought I was like 25, but
Yeah.
I was like 16 at the time.
Yeah.
Scared shitless. I think it was 17. And they go to the middle of this pool, and they're like, and the cops are like, all right, now you got to get out. And there's like 50 or 60 of them. And they're like, yeah, slapping the water.
Yeah.
And it's like, part of me, as a teenager, like, I've been in that group with my friends, and it's like exhilarating,
Yeah.
to be mischievous, and like, because when you're not alone, it's fun. It's like a riot almost. And this is what happened. They called the riot police.
Mm-hmm.
And when, hypothetically, of course, this is a story I've made up in my head.
Yeah.
But when they called the riot police, the police came. It was PEP first. They called backup police. Then they called the D-Tech vans, and then they had the riot police come in like the black vans.
Yeah.
And they're coming out. They're all around the pool, and they're like, "You're going to jail. You're going to jail. You're going to jail." And one by one, they'd walk up to the border with their head down, and be like, "Sir, I'm sorry." And he's like, "You're good. Just leave. Get your stuff and get going."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Wow." They worked that out really well. Like, they de-escalated the situation, and you could tell who's willing to fold in an instant, right? Because a lot of them were like, "Yo, these are my boys forever, yo. Like, yo, we don't split no matter what." And they're like, "You want to go to jail?" And he's like, "No, sir. I'm getting out." And there was some that had balls.
Dude, I love that. I love like
Watching them fold.
watching them like
Mm-hmm.
when you're with the guys. It's just a bunch of adrenaline, very alphaness.
Mhm.
Like I would see the most alphaness is like when you have a bunch of guys and they came with like a bunch of girls,
Mm-hmm.
and the guys are just trying to
Impress.
outman the other.
Mhm.
So you would always see that dunking or who's stronger, who can flip the other person
Yeah.
more, and it's all just trying to impress like the group of girls,
Mhm.
and that always happens every time I'm in McCarran. To see a bunch of teenagers, guys, and a bunch of teenager girls, there's gonna be that feud of who's the top male, so the
Mhm.
girls are impressed,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in the end, then they walk down with their head down. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's funny.
I realized the job was a lot easier if you just create a connection with these kids, because like a lot of them are just regulars. They come every single day.
Yep.
A lot of them are too young to work, or they're in an area, or maybe they're just too lazy to work. Because I remember that age, like SYEP does a tremendous job. If you're familiar with SYP,
No.
it's something youth employment program,
Okay.
student youth employment program, basically all over the city. It's a random based, and they'll bring you to what's it called? To a job. They'll get you a job so you can work. But a lot of these kids, I don't know why they don't want to work. Regardless, they were at the pool every day, right?
Yeah.
And it's either they're going to be mischievous, and you're going to have to kick them out or suspend them for a week, or you're going to have to argue, or you could just work it out. A little diplomacy, like, "What's up, kid? What's your name? How you doing?"
Yeah.
Yo, like, and I found it really easy if you just pick out the leader, bring them aside. And
Yeah.
I feel like they will always respond
Yeah.
to that. So I would like whistle at them. I'd be like, "You," and I know it's rude to point with fingers, but if they're fucking around, I don't care, you know. So I point. I'll be like, "You, come here."
Yeah.
And if he turns around or he acts like he didn't hear me, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
You can do it again
Yep.
and again, and like really loud pitch. And
Yeah.
you bring him over, you talk to him, be like, "Yo, listen, I understand you're the leader of your group, right? They look up to you. They follow your lead, right?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, I guess." And I was like, "Look, I don't want to kick you guys out because I understand. Like, I'm not far off from your age.
Yeah.
I just came out of my prime as a little hooligan, you know.
Mhm.
Like, I understand doing that shit is fun, but you know, it's got to come to an end. And it's got to come from someone within the group.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm calling you over here because I know you can handle it." And I was like, "Unless you can't." And they're immediately like, "No, I can handle it. I can handle it."
Yeah.
You know, it's like a challenge almost. It's not challenging
Okay.
their ego, but it's like,
Okay.
can you handle this responsibility as a growing man?
Yeah.
You know, and it worked every single time.
That's good. Yeah.
And sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes I'm not saying it. It's not that it wouldn't. There was an instance where like a kid would be like, he's really understanding, but it was just disappointing to watch him fail again. And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Dude, I gave you the warning, bro.
Yeah.
And we were working. We had it. And why'd you do this?"
Yeah.
He would do like a front flip just because the pool was closing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Sorry, dude. I told you if you do it again, you got to kick you out for a week."
Yeah. Yeah.
We see him next week and he's like, "Yo, I listen." Or he's talking through the fence. He's like, "What's up, dude?" He daps me up with like a finger because I told you could fit through the wire.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but it's a lesson you learn.
I
right?
mean, I commend you because I don't have the energy to, I guess, build that relation. And
I didn't build it often. This was
yeah,
this was like if I was feeling nice.
yeah. I guess it just becomes lazier once you work more years
Hmm.
because it's just, I don't know, for me, it's just too much work to kind of build that foundation you were
Mhm.
doing, or like that mental play with them.
I learned that from another guard that was there.
Yeah.
His name was William, yeah, and he was a familiar. He was like, "Bro, I used to hate this kid, and I would fight with him and his mother."
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's mothers that support the foolishness.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Dude, your kid is gonna die. Like, he's doing backflips on a 3-foot pool. I don't think you understand how dangerous this is.
Yeah.
Like, a neck snap is not that far away."
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, "Oh, shut up, blah 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 blah. I'm gonna come to your boss. Who's your chief?" And of course, we always point them right to our chief, and
Yeah.
our chief backs us up because we're upholding the law. You
Yeah.
know? And he was like, "I realized that if I just become friends with this kid," and now he greets the mother. He gives her a kiss hello. And he actually went to my high school, which is pretty funny because I was like, "What high school you go to?" And I was like, "No way."
Yeah.
Yeah, his name is William. Great kid, funniest kid. He told me he was like, "I'm a loud Mexican, so like I like to yell."
Yeah.
And he's like, "It's really hard for me to be patient," but like then he told me that he realized that it's like the easiest route.
Oh my.
It's the path of least resistance, you know.
We can do another 15 maybe.
Got you.
Yeah.
So like he was telling me like the path of least resistance is
Yeah.
is basically just working and being patient. But baking in the sun, and you just want to go home, or like some kids pissing you off all day, and like,
Yep.
because usually what they do is they'll fuck around, and you'll be like, "All right, that's it, get out the pool," and they'll just get out and they'll go to a different section,
Yeah.
so they could just evade you,
Yeah.
and then it gets annoying. So there's definitely times where you can't just be patient. You have to meet them with force, you know,
Yeah.
like get out. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that can be applied to a lot of walks of life.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard to assess when you have to use certain force and when you can compromise, you know,
Of
like
course. Yeah.
let's say like police or enforcement. There's like always a debate between whether it's like a social worker can do a better job
Yeah.
than someone with brute force. And of course, there's two extremes. Like
Yeah.
you've seen people talk others out of jumping off a building, or out of shooting people, or out of robbing a bank. You know, I've seen videos of people walking into a deli or a store with a gun or a bat,
Yeah.
and the guy behind the counter is not posing a threat either. He's not defending himself, even though he probably had like a shotgun or something.
Yeah.
You could talk them out of it. But there's also times where it's like you have to meet them with force, you know?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's mandatory.
Our job is lifeguarding, though. Our
I
job
know.
is just to watch the water. Our job is not to be some teacher or
That's
some
true.
psychologist or anything like that. So I do commend people who are trying to talk them out of stuff and all that. But in the end of the day, I ain't getting paid for that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I got lazy throughout the years in that aspect. It's like, you know what? My job's to watch the water. If you break the rules, I'm going to use enforcement. Like,
Hmm.
I'm just not getting paid enough for doing that. But believe it or not, like thinking through this, like now as we're talking, that wasn't the defining moment of, you know what, I got to quit like lifeguarding. The defining moment actually is when it's an empty day, it's raining, there's only one dude in the pool, and there's still 12 people sitting on the chair.
That's ridiculous, yeah.
And it was like one time I was sitting like an hour and a half or 2 hours just watching nothing, just watching empty water.
Hmm.
And I think I remember it was like my 4th year or something like that. And that's when one of my good friends of lifeguarding left. And his name's Kevin. He's also like into computer science like me. So we were both the only geeks in computers there. So he left, and it was in my 4th year, just watching the water for an hour and a half. And I'm like,
terrible.
I'm not even using my brain. Like, I want to use my brain. So that's why I really wanted to stop lifeguarding and focus on my other stuff, like my cybersecurity stuff and all that. Yeah.
For me, it was like the stimulation or lack thereof. I
Yeah.
would sit there and I'm just like, why am I wasting so much time doing nothing? Like,
Yep.
And for me, it was really like in this job, my bad. There's no upward mobility. You can't earn above where you are. You could be a 15-year lifeguard and not become a chief or a lieutenant, because there's like 3 positions in this entire thing.
Yep.
Unless you decide to go corporate and work in an office.
Yep.
Besides that, there's like, it sucks, It's not fun. And I understand it's a good pay for when you're younger,
When you're young only, yep.
Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's like, would you rather take a pay cut for a job that stimulates you and you earn skills and you learn how to communicate and you work on your leadership, or would you rather sit in a chair and babysit, basically?
Yeah,
That's what it comes down to. We were babysitters.
Yeah.
Glorified.
It was like, if lifeguarding were different hours, like if it was, let's say, part-time, but you still earn the same amount, then I can understand it, because then you have time to do other stuff.
Yeah.
But the problem was 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, middle of the day, you have no time to do anything else. So when you are dedicating 6 days a week to doing nothing, like for your brain, and you have no time to do anything else, I don't know how a human can deal with that.
It gets upsetting.
Yeah.
That's what, for me, the crossroad I came to like really early was like, am I using this to make money, or is it like, is there a lot of complacency in this business? And I realize there is.
Yeah.
There's certain people that have been there for 30, 40 years, and I'm like, dude, how can you be in this position for that long?
It's good motivation. You see those people and you're like, I don't want to be that,
Yeah, bro. I learned that working at Seatown. There was a guy that worked there for 40 years, and I was like, there's no way you're stocking shelves and you haven't become manager. Like, if you realize there's no mobility, and maybe it's biased because it's family run, they're working at a family run grocery store.
Yeah.
Dude, leave, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're so useful elsewhere.
The reason is, and this is a problem my dad has, is I think complacency and just scared to take a risk. They're used to being comfortable, the comfortability of just staying in that same ritual over and over again. And that's a big problem that a lot of people have, is they're not willing to take the risks, not willing to venture out to the unknown. It's like, maybe I can do this or whatever. They just want to stick to what they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So you can tell that dude, why not just leave? You're like, you're not making more money. You're never going to go up position. But he's like, you know what? That's all I know. That's all I know how to do.
Yeah. Well, I feel like more often than not, the people in positions that we describe as complacent are usually immigrants. And I've noticed it with people that I'm related to.
Yeah.
And
True.
Sometimes they come from paths beforehand where it's like nothing is taken for granted, So what you have, you're gonna keep until it's taken from you, Or at least you have some foundation that you could definitely trust. So I feel like I understand why someone would come to America, let's say, and I was working with this other guy, Alaska Pool, and he was there for like 25 years or 30 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, why have you been here for so long? And he's like, I love it. I was like, okay, if you love it, then do it,
Yeah.
No one should stop you from doing what you love. But at the same time, it's like, part of me understood there's like this fear, like you mentioned, that like, there's nothing else to fall back on, or there's no safety net,
Yeah.
It's definitely scary, but I feel like if you're willing to take that risk, it's like climbing, like we were saying, it's like, are you willing to fail with integrity, with humility?
Yep.
Or are you just gonna like sometimes freeze up? A lot of people are stuck in that path where it's like they're asking for help, but really, if you want to get yourself out of that position, it's got to be you.
Yep.
It's the individual.
Bunch of lack of confidence in people. It's also shyness. Like my father is relatively shy. It's because he's still not too confident in his English. That probably diminishes his confidence in trying to get another job or something like that. He is much better now than prior, but for, I would say, like good 15 years, he was working delivery for suitcases. Like when you lose luggage in an airport, he's going to be the one to bring it to your house.
Oh, wow.
But he was working for like some very corrupted like dude or whatever. So it wasn't like an official union job or anything like that. He was getting paid off the books cash, and it would get paid really, really little, no reimbursement for gas or anything like that. So we're
That
like,
sucks.
we're constantly telling him switch jobs, switch jobs. He's like, oh, that's, and even to this day, like, he would still call that boss to see if like he would have any openings or anything like that. I'm like, stop going back to that dude, But luckily he changed and he got a CDL license, CDLB, which is driving the bigger trucks, and he drives.
That's Class C on the license, right? Because I'm Class D, which just means what?
Yeah, driver. Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. So the CDLA and CDLB. CDLA is when you're driving the 18 wheelers like through the country and all that. CDLB is like the semi big trucks that you go around the city and all that. So he does the food delivery in JFK.
Okay.
So for me, that was a big step up since the other one, because now he's like in an official union job and all that stuff.
Dude, perks. They're looking at. I'm sure he has dental, right?
Yeah. He
medical.
He has perks. He has perks.
That's great.
So, but it took him a while though. But there's still people who would never make that transition.
Yeah.
And it's just because of lack of confidence, shyness, and also, like you said, it's a lot of immigrants, and it's because they probably don't have the confidence that they have the ability to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of intimidation, especially in New York City, where it's like hustle and bustle.
Yeah,
get to it. You got to be on your A game at all times.
Yep.
And I also feel like we have a system that it's conducive of this lifestyle where like we feel like we could just be set, because like let's say like the unions, we're part of a union.
Yeah.
And we have protection in the summer. We can miss a day of work and they can't touch us.
Yep.
The union we're almost invincible where we work. Like unless we do something caught on camera with witnesses, obviously wrong, then you'll get fired, right? Then you'll be terminated.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the union used to be about protecting the people. Now the union is about what you can get out of it,
Yeah.
It's more about personal gain.
Yep.
And I feel like that works across the board for
Yeah.
a lot of things. It's like, how many vacation days can I squeeze out? Originally, it was, we need to give you a break because you deserve one. I mean, it's not healthy to work this many days a week, this many hours a day.
Yeah.
In this type of situation, like what was the Triangle building, the factory that caught fire?
Okay.
That was one of the biggest ones, kind of like a staple in this. It was like a lot of women died in that fire. They were in a factory. They were just, I think they were making clothing.
Yeah.
Caught fire. There was no fire escapes. A bunch of them died. There was doors that closed. People couldn't get out. Burned alive. Just so many victims, and this happened over and over again. That's why unions were created. But I feel like unions now just serve a purpose that I feel like the mob kind of brought into perspective, which is just like, it's like a bargaining power.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what can we get out? What can we squeeze? And someone who works for the MTA was telling me this, another city worker. He was like, listen, I love my perks. I love my job. I love the MTA. But it's no longer about the people. It's about the individual.
Yeah.
It's no longer a collective organization looking out for one another. It's people that are involved in something looking out for themselves. And I feel like it's kind of sad, but it's conducive to an environment where there's not much to gain based on merit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Merit's really where it's at.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of which, my right knee is killing me. That's because I did a run this morning. So we can talk about running,
Yeah.
When was the last time you ran?
I ran at Juniper Park a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks.
Yeah, good for you.
It was very cold. It hurt.
What
and
did,
I
what did you
haven't
run?
ran since. I ran 2.5 miles, and that was it.
That's good, yeah.
And I was gone.
Yeah.
Haven't done it again.
Yeah, so
I miss that. I miss running. This
yeah,
summer. Yeah.
we gotta run one day.
It was
maybe.
fun running with you, man.
Yeah, it was
You
fun.
used to push me.
Yeah.
And then when you weren't there, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to act like he's here anyways. And then I would try even faster.
Yeah,
did my
like
Murphy challenge.
A phantom image of me. Yeah.
And then I had a phantom image of you behind me. And then
You're killing me.
And then I was shadowboxing you.
Oh, okay.
And you phantom knocked out.
Phantom sleep with me
Yeah.
as well. I'm always there.
Uh,
Those were funny texts. Remember the Peruvian that stupid joke we were like going through? It's like you have a poster of me, Peruvian god or whatever. You remember that joke? No?
No.
It was super funny. You're like, oh, it's day 2 of praising the god.
that was this summer?
I think, or this summer or last
So this summer, yeah, I moved my weights into where I worked at the pool. It was like this downstairs dungeon.
Yeah.
We were working out, and I was like, yo, working out with Fabian last year. We also worked out with Deepen and
Yeah.
Tommy, Davide sometimes.
David
right?
Dominguez.
David Dominguez.
David Dominguez.
Yeah, it was so much fun. But working out as a group was definitely challenging. And I was like, you know what? He's not here this summer, so someone's got to pick up slack, I was like, you know what? Got to do what Fabian taught us. Got to keep at it, keep ourselves responsible. It was fun.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't easy, but then Mark got a hang of it. Dawa got a hang of it.
That's good.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Dawa's a hard worker. Mark's a hard worker.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of other guys into it this year too.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
No, you're definitely a leader. You have leader attributes. You know,
Thank you,
the
sir.
way you speak and all that. So.
I'm trying to take what I can from those before me, because like
Yeah.
if I go on my own experience, I'm
Yeah.
gonna hit a brick wall very soon.
I mean,
you
that's why it's good always hang out with people, you know, who are better than you.
Mhm.
You know.
That's why I do this. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's why I like having people on that make me feel not inferior, and that's not the word. It's they check me.
Yeah.
Their experience puts me into place.
Yeah.
And like obviously people can understand that as like a kind of an inferiority thing. Like
Got
it's
it.
like because like you're placing themselves above you.
Yeah.
But really, it's not really a pedestal for me. It's like, what can I learn?
Yeah.
You know, what can I take?
Anyone you'll meet in life, they will at least be better than you in one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you are much better than me when it comes to weightlifting and static stuff. Like
Thank you, sir.
we were talking about, like the way you have to move the weights or whatever like that.
Mhm.
I had no idea about that stuff, but I know about cardio.
Mm-hmm.
So
A damn
yeah.
lot of it.
So yeah, I ran today actually in the morning. I decided to run this morning 11 miles. So I ran from in the yeah, 11
You wake up and just decide? Is
No,
this
no,
like
no.
a
It was
weekly
planned. It was planned.
daily thing?
No,
2-3 times a week?
I ran 3 times this week. So Monday.
11? You just wait.
Yeah, so Monday I ran
11 miles.
what did I do Monday? I did a fartlek. So what a fartlek is when you're running at a steady pace, and then you would choose a designated time. So what I did is I would run, and on the 5th minute I would sprint for a minute. Well, have a pace that's sub 7:30 for a minute, and then just keep running like relatively moderate. So every 5th minute, just sprint for a minute, and I would just do that for 30 minutes. So that's good, you know, brings the heart rate up to aerobic, anaerobic, just back and forth. Then yesterday I did a tempo, a small loop in Forest Park, and that small loop is 0.87 miles. So I did a moderate, easy, hard, easy, hard.
Mhm.
Also good stimulus, good tempo. And then today was just long distance, but easy pace. So purely aerobic, zone 2.
Mhm.
So to be a good runner, you need to do a lot of anaerobic and aerobic and have a lot of miles in. So today was just putting in the miles.
Gotcha.
So 11 miles today, yeah.
So do you have any tips for people to stay fit cardiovascularly during coronavirus? Because I feel like the lockdown's going to happen again. And de Blasio said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Maybe it's Cuomo. that
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah.
And basically, it's inevitable. We're going to close down gyms and stuff like that again. I started running at the park. I really loved it. I found the runner's high. I really understood what it meant. 'Cause
Yeah,
I was hitting 6 miles, and I was like, dude, I'm coasting.
yeah,
My speed was great. I think it was hitting, maybe not sub 7, but I think it was like a 7:15 mile
yeah,
for 6 miles, and that was a great accomplishment to me.
Yeah.
It was 7:30 for 6 miles. And
yeah.
I know kids that are doing like 4:20s, but like,
I mean,
they're monsters. Kudos to them. That's what they like. I'm trying to find balance. For me, I want to be like more performance. Like I want to be able to play basketball, but also be able to lift, but also be able to run, but also be
yeah,
able to swim.
yeah.
You know,
That's
well-rounded. Because I don't want to be too compensated in one area.
yeah. That's what I'm trying to be too. Like
Mhm.
what
Yeah, definitely.
what
I see that.
motivates me the most is not aesthetically, but performance-wise.
Mhm.
So if I would see a dude and he like aesthetically looks better, I don't feel a type of way.
Mhm.
You know, it's all just like a empty shell.
Because you've proven to yourself what
Yeah,
you can do.
but when I see a person who outruns me or outswims me or outbikes me or outclimbs me, that really like grinds the gears for me. It's like, you know what, I gotta be
Mhm.
better. So that's what I always do. I want to be better performance-wise. Aesthetically, it will come with it if you focus on performance. But if you
Mhm.
just focus purely on aesthetics, you know, like if that's really what you want, but you know,
I
go
mean,
for it.
There's
but-
also something to respect about the aesthetics part.
yeah,
Because like bodybuilding itself is like a 24-hour thing, as well as
yeah.
these are both performance
Yeah.
things that
No, I respect it. Yeah,
because you got to pay attention to how much you're eating. Sleep matters insanely.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah. It's a discipline in itself. So
you can respect it.
I respect it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what was I saying earlier? You were saying how like will we motivate people during Corona time for cardio wise, right?
Or running in the cold. Yeah.
Honestly, the first thing I would say is choose which type of cardio you enjoy the most.
Mhm.
You know, like if you like biking more than running, do biking. If you know a different type of cardio, like jump roping, try to do that.
Mm.
Or if you like running, do that. Like find the type of cardio that works for you. And the most important thing is consistency. And I think consistency is the most important. Like I'd rather you run every day for 10 minutes than just run one day for an hour. Like one day a week for an hour. I'd rather you run 5 days a week, but for like 10 minutes.
Because you're checking the box, you know?
You're
You're
doing
doing
it
it.
consistently, and that will help you keep that consistently.
Yeah.
It'll help you build a routine.
Mhm.
That's why, like, when you go to a dentist or whatever, like, they tell you brush your teeth every single
Mhm.
day, right? What's better, brushing your teeth every single day for like 2 minutes, or one day of the week but like 30 minutes? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not going to compensate.
It's not gonna
Yeah,
compensate.
you got to
So,
pay your dues.
yeah, so it's the same thing when it
Mhm.
comes to cardio or anything,
Mhm.
and like in working out and physical stuff.
Yeah.
Like you just gotta do consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I would say, the main thing to focus on.
It's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Well, you want to finish here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can finish here. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fabian, I hope you guys learned something. I do. Every time I speak to you, I feel like I gain a lot. So thank you.
Yeah.
Your experience and future experiences, we'll have you on again.
Yeah. I'll
Of course.
hope to be back again. It's
Yeah.
fun. It was fun. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Great to have you.
Yep.